You are now watching Zach Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' peeps? Welcome back to the channel, Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be going over the top 16 best deck lists from the Late Night Series number 20. So this is the last event before the Invitational, and there was a lot of great players in our largest Fusion Strike tournament ever. Whether it's online or in real life, the Late Night Series has really taken that baton for Pokemon tournaments in general, where there's a lack thereof, and they've become the largest events. So I really hope if you get a chance to check out what we have going on for Season 3 real soon. I'm currently dealing with our sponsors to make sure it's the best season yet, and I hope that everyone stays tuned for it. But I know that all of y'all want to see exactly what's going on. The list, or the link to the list, is going to be in the description. Let's jump into those deck lists, see exactly what we have going on with this video today. So we just had the late night number 20 with over 325 players. We had 330 players overall, which makes this the largest Fusion Strike event again. So the late night series continuously breaks records for this particular format. And I mean, I'm just super hyped. We had a lot of players come out and play. And like we've done in the last video, we're going to be going over the top 16 best decks. With all the players that we have, let's share some of the goodness. You can see like a lot of the names that are really up there. We see Gabe Shumway, Ricardo Totti, we see Tate Whitesell, Jonathan Patricio, Cal Connor, Connor Finton. Lots of strong players doing well at these events. So we're going to start off with doubles. Homie of mine playing Jolteon VMAX. So what we do, we're just going to go through these lists, basically tell you exactly what I think about them, and see where we're at. I think 4-3 Jolteon line is pretty standard. The 4-4 Drizzile Inteleon. I mean, so far the Pokemon line looks great. The whole idea is to path to the peak a lot of the popular decks, such as Mew Genesect. And then you have Max Thunder Rumble, where you're placing damage counters with Zigzagoon or Quick Shooting. And then you go ahead and then go 100-100. You could use Boss's Orders and strategically try to knock out multiple Pokemon per turn. You want to know what? This seems like the ideal list. I really don't see too much that I really change. Some people like to play 1 Fan of Waves, some people like to play 3 Scoop of Net, some people like to play 2 Share. Like, there's really, like, this card is 59 cards perfect. So really just a great deck overall. Shout out to Doubles for the top 16 finish. I think this is a banger of a Jolteon list. I really don't see anything wrong with it. If we do run into a duplicate deck, like another Jolteon deck, we're probably going to run through it a little bit quicker. We're going to see Waking Eyes with Duraludon. I think that Duraludon is a deck that a lot of players are playing the exact same core list. The whole deck revolves around using Skyscraper here. Skyscraper stops your opponent's... It prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have special energy attached. Sometimes it's easier just to read the ability, and then it just goes 220. It does have a lot of mid-range control elements with Crushing Hammer and Avery and Flannery and stuff like that, but the goal is a lot of decks play special energies. You're vibing with that. Go ahead and stop your opponent. I don't really like the Zamazenta in the deck. Like, my list is a little bit different, but I don't really think... Like, I think that this is really just the standard base list that everyone's playing. If not, this is the same, maybe a couple cards off from Grant Manley's 100+ player winning deck or list that we've seen about a few weeks ago. So I think that this is a solid choice overall. So great job to Waking Eyes. I think that Duraludon's I'll just go back here one more time because I want to go over it quickly. I think Duraludon VMAX is a very good card. I think it's fundamentally the same thing that we've seen in Decidueye or other kind of mid-range control decks in the past. So Decidueye, Luke Metal, stuff like that. Usually when they start doing well, they start going down. Duraludon might be a little bit different because our format is really solved at this point. Mew is up there, Jolteon's up there, Single Strike's up there, and those are really the core, and Duraludon exists because of those decks existing. I think Duraludon's the type of deck where we can totally fix some things up a little bit. With this core, I don't think the proper build has been discovered. Like, as a player who's been playing since 2005, I feel like Duraludon VMAX could be so much more, and I just feel this passion. I don't know if I'm the player who's going to bring it there. I think that a lot of players might feel the same. So Duraludon VMAX, the core looks really good, but I think there's just something that takes this deck to the next level. Can't put my finger on it, but we'll hopefully eventually get there. Moving on to our 14th place, Connor Finton. Connor Finton, really great friend of mine. We actually played on Rock Games together, Rock Gaming. It's one of the old professional teams. Gets a little bit fuzzy, but playing Leafeon VMAX with Geller and Moltres. So normally Leafeon's all about using Grass Knot. For Grass and Colorless, you do 60 times the amount of your opponent's retreat cost. You buff that up with Galar Mind. Although with Mew VMAX being in formats with 0 retreat cost, Leafeon's kind of taken a dive. So I think that this is an inventive build on the deck, adding Geller and Moltres to try to beat that matchup. Don't think it necessarily solves our Jolteon matchup, but it could be enough where it's okay. So I think Leafeon VMAX is it's okay. I'm not terribly a huge fan of this deck right now. I think Leafeon VMAX is a great deck, but this looks like a fair build in this particular format. So congratulations to Connor. I think that if you're trying to play Leafeon now, I would suggest playing another deck. But if you are trying to play Leafeon now, this looks like a proper build. So let's go on to Dylan Gunn playing Turbo Zacian. So to me, Turbo Zacian is pretty much exactly this exact list. I'd like to see an extra Raihan in here if possible. I think that could be cut for a Tool Scrapper maybe. Either that or maybe just something else in general. The goal of this deck is to use Intrepid Sword, rip energies off the top of your deck, draw cards from the top of your deck, and attack with Brave Blade as soon as possible. If you hit a VMAX deck, you want to be using Dauntless Shield with Zamazenta V. I think that it's a relatively cheap deck to play. It's a relatively easy deck to play, but it is effective against some of the metagame. I don't particularly think this deck is as powerful as Duraludon or as efficient. I think that Duraludon is spiritually a better deck than this, and that if you're looking for the offensive qualities, I think Mew VMAX is a better deck than this. But Zacian V, regardless, still continuously does well, as we're seeing here. So, I mean, this might just be the cheapest best option, or it might just be more efficient overall. Again, I can't necessarily put my finger on the nuance, but this list looks more than acceptable, so great job to Dylan there. We're going to be moving on to Jonathan Patricio playing Duraludon. So we see they're playing a slightly different list than we've seen before. We see Pokemon Center Lady. We don't see the Flannery. I think the Flannery is absolutely amazing, so I don't necessarily appreciate that cut here. I do think Zamazenta V is quite cool. As a one of maybe, I don't necessarily like the two of in other decks. I like the energy switch. So like there's definitely aspects about this list that I like that I don't like, but that's what makes Pokemon personal at the end of the day. I think again, it's just like this build does not look like it looks like it did pretty well. So congratulations to Jonathan. But Duraludon's really that deck that like I think there's cards that I like Flannery, and we're gonna continuously like. But again, those are my personal opinions. Obviously, I'm the one just hosting these tournaments, not playing in them. So shout out to Jonathan. We got Tate. Tate's been playing this Suicune Path to the Peak deck. So Suicune using its Blizzard Rondo, doing all the extra damage by you having a larger bench, your opponent having a larger bench. I think that's kind of cool. With the same Intelli online, you go Path to the Peak, Crushing Hammer. So this plays like a basic version of Ice Rider. I think that the cool little technique that they added in here to try to get around Jolteon, because Suicune just gets absolutely bopped by that matchup, is Rapid Strike Urshifu V with a Rapid Strike energy and a Raihan. I think that that seems a little too messy for my liking. I don't know if there's a better option. I mean, it's cute and I think it's inventive. I don't think it necessarily solves too much when it comes to this deck. But regardless, shout out to Tay for always bringing it with this Suicune deck. Seems to be the only one that plays this deck right now, and I think that it's quite interesting. I just haven't necessarily got a chance to cover it. Maybe if more people actually pick up this deck, I might actually be more willing to look into it. I just think that this might be a it's just like an Ice Rider hybrid, even though it doesn't play Ice Rider. So Tate brings us into the top 8 with Gabe Shumway. So Gabe Shumway actually lent my Muse for this tournament. So shout out to the homie for making it all the way. I think going with this list, I've experimented with Oricorio. I can't knock it. I've actually been experimenting a lot with Mew VMAX, and it's something where I know a lot of people are like, Zach, you've probably covered Mew VMAX like 4 or 5 times on your channel by now. I do plan on covering my new old PC build. I really introduced a kind of a coin flip version of Mew on Friday, I think like Christmas Eve here in Toronto, and then the next day or even the next night, it might have been the 23rd. My dates got fuzzy. It's one of those things where my good friend Kenny Pacolo was able to win an event with a Mew coin flip deck. So I think like there's different takes on this deck. This take definitely looks really good. I don't see any issues with this list at all. This looks about as standard as a Mew VMAX list as you're ever going to see. Yeah, you could add some spice like Aura Choreo or change the Alice of Sparkles line up a little bit. I think this looks like a solid build for sure. Moving on, past Gabe Shumway, again, shout out to the homie. We got Eli7172 playing the Malamar deck. So the goal of this deck is to use Rapid Strike Tentacles and doing 40 times the amount of Rapid Strike Pokemon that you show your opponent from your hand and then you put back into your deck. We've seen other versions play the Inteleon. I personally like the Chinchino build, so it's no surprise to see that up here. I don't want to be like normally. I like to be right about these things. I don't like the Battle VIP pass in this deck. I think that's it doesn't make sense to play it as a 3 of. I think it makes sense to play probably as a 4 of to maximize its odds on the first turn, especially considering we don't play Cramomatic to really search it out. So I see a lot of players really adding Battle VIP Pass in their deck, and yeah, sure, you could certainly go on a little bit of a tear with it, and maybe Malamar hit some correct matchups on the way. I think that the Battle VIP Pass is actually a poor inclusion here. No knock against the player by any means. I think everyone's willing to experiment. I mean, over the past week, I've been experimenting with Pokeball and Old PC, so if you're looking at me, I've definitely made some poor choices when it comes to my own deck building, but I think that's me as a player. Sometimes you're rewarded by it, sometimes you're not. I think that Battle VIP Pass was probably cute, is probably the correct way that I'd put it for this event, but I don't necessarily think it's worthwhile to dive into too much more, so we'll keep it as that. I think that this again looks like a pretty solid core. I would like to see some things maximized, like the Karina's Focus, the Bruno, stuff like that. So again, maybe experiment with the Malamar list, but I think it's a little too experimental for my take overall, more and more that I look into it. Still great job. One thing that I didn't necessarily go over was Gabe Shumway's Mew. Good thing we're looking at Ricardo Toddy's list so we could explain the strategy of Mew. So the strategy of Mew is to use Cross Fusion Strike, copying different attacks of your Fusion Strike Pokemon, whether that's Energy, Mix, or Psychic Leap, or Max Miracle, or Technoblast, or Melodious Echo. There's different opportunities that you have here with Fusion Strike system to draw cards. You have ways to accelerate energy, increase damage, and do pretty much whatever you want with this deck. Again, I think this is just a very similar build to what we just saw. A lot of cards are going to be same, like the 4-3-4-2 line is very staple in all these decks. At least a 3-3 line. 4 amount of switching cards between Switch Escape Ropes, 4 Power Tablets, 4 Battle VIP Pass, Quick Balls, all these kind of cards. I think this player has done exceptional at a lot of events, so I think this looks like a very solid build, although it's quite vanilla, and I like Mew to have a little bit more spice to my own personal take, so I like playing cards like Pokeball and Old PC, but that's me, again, that's just me. What else do we got going on here? Again, congratulations, Ricardo. We got Mike Laundry playing Single Strike Urshifu VMAX. So the goal of this deck is to use Single Strike Roar to your various Single Strike Pokemon, accelerate energies, and choose the correct attacker for the right opportunity. Single Strike Urshifu VMAX can go through anything, Umbreon VMAX can gust things up, and both of the basic versions of Single Strike Urshifu V and Umbreon V are both quite efficient attackers. It looks like there's one Dark Energy here in case there's Dusknoir in the metagame, which I don't necessarily think is worthwhile. There's also the possibility of that they're using it because Training Court is up. Mew plays Training Court a lot, so maybe that's it. I've considered adding a couple basic energy to some of my decks that only play special energies, such as Gengar VMAX, but overall, I think that this is a solid build. I think the line might be a little bit too big here on the Single Strike Urshifu VMAX. I think 2-2 is more than enough, whereas Umbreon is much more important in terms of metagame, and including a Morpeko here is also great. So again, I think this build looks cool. I don't like the lack of switch, but it's a solid list by all means, and it looks like many of the other ones. We'll see some more in a second. So shout out to Mike. We have Jay Thorne up in the top 4 with we got it with the Mew VMAX deck. You can see again, Mew VMAX, we're looking at a very similar list, except this list is running a couple Fan of Waves, couple crushing hammers. You can see it's a little bit more teched out. I actually saw this player run through the tournament quite a bit. This player seemed to have quite a good control over their deck. Their crushing hammers were really hidden. Phantom waves are really working. So these cards are really cool in some matchups, although cards that you can't necessarily always play, like crushing hammers or phantom waves, because your opponent might not have special energies or energies in play, can clog up your hand a little bit. So keep that in mind. I really like Mew when it can play cards down from your hand every single turn, and that's one thing that I tried to do when I'm constructing a Mew list. Again, this is very much the same Mew core that we've seen in almost every other player's everything, so solid overall. What else do we got going on? We're going to move into Coronel Zeta, or Coronel Zeta. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. Playing Baby Hoopa, Baby Hoopa, Baby Galarian Moltres. The goal of this deck is to ping your opponent with some Assault Gate damage. So switch 90, kind of like a Gale Thrusting Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. Once your opponent starts to draw some prize cards, you could drop the Galarian Moltres with Malevolent Charge, and then go ahead and use Fiery Wrath or Wraith. I can't read the card. I think Wrath. You do 20 plus 50 for each prize cards that they've drawn. So in terms of being a single prize card attacking deck, I think this is a really powerful way to play this deck. I think this deck's underrated. Right now it does very well against Mew. It doesn't do very well against Jolteon or Rapid Strike, so that's really where it struggles a little bit. But overall, I think this list is really cool to just kind of, it might just be the best single prize card attacking deck right now. There's a lot of things that I don't necessarily like. I don't know if the Pyukumuku helps. I don't know if the Galarian Moltres V helps. I think you might need an extra Clara, an extra Galarian Moltres V. Like, there's things that or Galarian Moltres. I think there's different ways to play this deck, but overall, solid build, and I think this is really just the community build that Ross Cawthon has been playing for a few months now. So shout out to Coronel Zeta on their finish. Moving into the finals, we have Cole Lewis playing Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX with Galarian Moltres V. I think that this deck is all about using Gmax Rapid Flow, and you got that whole thing going on with the Passimians and the... some lists play Telescopic Sight to really make that happen, quick shooting, make those numbers happen. And then you have a Galarian Moltres V to kind of deal against Mew. I think that I'd want to up the Galarian Moltres V count. I'd like to up the Dark count. I don't particularly like this archetype because it feels kind of like two decks sandwiched together, like half Galarian Moltres, half Rapid Strike Urshifu. So I think that this looks like a pretty standard build overall. Again, a lot of things that I'd probably just change immediately based off my player preferences, but overall, solid build on their behalf, and congratulations on coming second. So we're going to have Zach Cohen as our late night 20 champion, playing Single Strike Urshifu. You can see that this is a slightly different build than what we saw before. I don't necessarily know if you need the third Umbreon VMAX, and they went with Battle VIP Pass. If you got a chance to watch the finals video, Battle VIP Pass was certainly hidden that night at least, so that seemed to work. Again, I think I'd probably rather Great Ball, but Battle VIP Pass might just be better. I'll have to figure that out as we go along. But overall, solid list. Again, a lot of the things that I liked about the last list or didn't like are fixed in this list. But again, it just comes down to personal preference. So if you want to learn more about all these decks, the link is included in the description, so be sure to check that out. Lots of great things going on here, and I hope that everyone can participate. We have Season 3 coming up starting this Monday. I mean, we have a special late night event while we have the Invitational, but you can see exactly every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern now for these tournaments. Free entry, increased prize support. It should be absolutely amazing. So I hope that everyone enjoys it and sees exactly what's going on. Always great fun at these late night events. I hope that all of you enjoyed learning more about this event and seeing exactly what went down. We do have the grand finals video that's already up on the channel, so stay tuned for that. Lots of great content coming out in the next little bit. So during this holiday season, I know that a lot of people are taking time off, and it's well deserved. I'm going to do everything I can to continuously stay through. Maybe some days I'm going to record extra videos to record later on the day, so it might not be 2 uploads per day like I usually try to get to, but we're going to try to get as close to that as possible and make sure that we have continuous Pokemon TCG content over the holiday season. If I don't necessarily get a chance to talk to you personally or in Discord or anything else like that, I wish everyone the best this season, and I hope all y'all have a safe and wonderful and great time this week. Peace out and have a great one. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video, and have yourself a great day. Thanks.